It's time for the GG Bet news. We will get to go through my thoughts on madness, and there's a lot to talk about actually with this. So, who watched Gamers8 here? The Saudi Arabia tournament, the Gamers8 tournament is like a huge 8-week event with multiple games, multiple huge prize pools and stuff for it. Bro, I was working at Stage House and doing interviews. That event was like taking Blast Showdown and putting it with the very best teams in. Single elimination is ruthless, but we love it. I want to go over some of my points on teams. Now, G2 at least, right, they proved that they are still a competitive team. They were still a team that can fight, even like they can drop a map and come back into it. For me, G2's not done yet. G2 is still one of these top teams. People can try and say they write off Hooksy or whatever, or other players on the team don't believe in him. But for me, I'm still putting G2 up there as like, I don't know, number 2, number 3, number 4 in the world. They're definitely up there. So G2, obviously we look at Katowice, they won that, and then they went on a bit of like a off day. I think it was good to see them go as far as they did in Gamers8. And I don't think like we can say they need any changes. I don't think there's anything that's really like worrying about it. I think the changes will come for G2 when it comes to CS2, maybe, depending on if some of the other players adapt well to it or want to play as much, you know. It's hard when a new game... People have to remember, when a new game comes out, if you know Counter-Strike inside and out, when a new game comes out, people will maybe not have the same motivation to learn everything because they've known the game they're into. Maybe some do. The younger players, for example, like a Manasi, is going to want to grind, find everything out about it. And some players have to play catch-up. We've had this in all versions of Counter-Strike when we swapped over. But for me, G2, the whole thing is they're not done yet. This is still a positive for them. I think this isn't a bad event at all. Faze is the team I'm starting to worry about. If you look at Faze's, I'm going to bring up the results. If you look at Faze's results, that was rough. They lost to Virtus Pro, man. Virtus Pro with a stand-in. Faze, one of the most dominant teams. They didn't change lineup. They're not reinventing themselves. They're talking about time and stuff. There's a lot of struggles for them. I don't know. I still believe in Brokey. I don't think it's time for Brokey to go yet. But if he doesn't start to step up, I can see why you might want to swap him around. Give him a going. Like the rain move would be like a similar move to the Dupree move for Flames, right? It's like a significant upgrade. It makes sense on paper. But what you need to know is the trade-off then for FaZe and for Karrigan is that you lose someone who is like the right-hand man of Karrigan, the fearless one who's always happy to like go in and do the dirty work. But I'm not against that. Now, NAVI. I am the ultimate NAVI fan, and I love this team. But god damn, it's rough. The way they got handled by Vitality, they got battered and bruised. And this just shows like Navi's not even like Navi can beat the other teams, but they're not ready to compete with like the top 5. And that will take time. If you remember all the other videos and things I spoke about for Navi, like admittedly JL had a pretty bad game in that series. But I would say that I'm still want to see how Ime is going to be used to be at the best of his ability. He's such a skilled player. We weren't looking for JL to be like super out there and up there. But they need to agree on the way they want to play. But I do feel like they're at the moment kind of playing CS like, oh, well, we're planning for the future, you know? Like Pro League right now doesn't mean anything to them. It's about getting more team chemistry in. Future events like even go they qualify for full final, just try to do some damage there. I feel like they must be waiting for CS2, even with Simple was playing and streaming CS2 with JL and they've been doing that on bootcamp. Like right now they just need to get the chemistry together and fix things out, but it's the way they got battered. And also Simple himself, I've said this many times, he's a player who when the system's good, when the team's good around him, they don't need to pop off, but if he believes in them, he can go do his thing. We still haven't seen that happen. Some games he drops and does amazing kills all the time and just destroys everyone. But we're not at the point yet where Simple's in his A game, and like he's not even conversation for being the best player in the world this year at all. You can't. You can't use him as that. So it needs to improve. It needs to get better. But I've not even really got much hope for them coming into EPL or anything yet. We're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe they make playoffs. It's a quite forgiving format, group stage. You got the normal group stage into the last chance, so they should be able to make it through. But yeah, it's like, Now, Heroic. Do you remember the Heroic Ence game? Let me bring that back up. The Heroic Ence game was nutty. Nuke picked by Ence goes all the way, right? Overtime, 22-22. 22-20 in favour of Ence in the end. But then Overpass. Now, I did the interview with Snappy, and he changed positions on their CT sides, which he said he's not a fan of doing. Normally, they would not do it. It's not something they do as a team. And we basically saw them demolish, walk over, and absolutely obliterate Heroic. Heroic looked lost. Normally, you can say Heroic's always making it competitive, and you can't. This wasn't even a grand final game for them to be choking in. No, they just were not ready. And this is where I'm at the point with Heroic where I'm saying, cool, you got absolutely mind broken by the likes of Ence. You need to make a change. Heroic was a team we always used to say, the most consistent team in Counter-Strike. Would be able to get playoffs. Would be able to get further down. These kind of losses now, the game is 8-1, now dropping a map here, a series here to big in Pro League. Maybe it's time. Maybe they need to shake it off a bit. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know who would go. It's like such a tight knit team, but I feel like if they keep dropping down, then they're gonna think, who can we get? Who can we grab? Now, some people were saying like get Dupree, but they don't want a Dupree. You need to keep young players coming in. It's crazy. Now for me, Ence though, Ence another grand final. Okay, they didn't win, but my God, I feel like they're going to be. They must be, to me, they must be number 3 in the world right now. I'll say number 3 in the world's Ence, number 2 G2, and number 1 Vitality. People will argue that and say Heroic should be in top 3, but with the recent performances with the drop-offs, I'm going to go the other way of it. Ence right now is super impressive. Sampias is a beast. Nertz is finding his confidence. Diha has moments where this kid should not even be doing like good stuff, and he's fucking pulling it up. He's like, they found a great system. And Snappy, by the way, Mac 10, MP9, God. This guy is cannon fodder. If you play HLTV Fantasy, you understand what I mean. This guy is taking L's left, right, and centre, but he's setting up his team and players. The only one like Madden, I went to the airport with Madden at Gamers8. We spent probably about an hour talking together before we waited to get on our plane. We had like the same connecting flight. And he's an interesting one for me because he's got a great. When I was speaking to him, I haven't done too many interviews with him. I don't talk to him too much. He's a player I'm now getting to know, but he gave me some great insight. Which like he was the one I had the least confidence in, and now I feel like no, Madden really he believes in these guys. He believes in his team. He'll do anything they need for him. Yeah, he's on a huge part, man. For Ence, you don't make any changes right now, none at all. And then Vitality, 1.12 rating, a solid performance in the grand final. They held their own as a team. So there was a tech pause certainly in the grand final. This kind of messed it up. This took a bit of the steam away from everything. There was a tech pause for like an hour. Is already like that was his first ever trophy. This kid's been playing and so loyal to OG for ages. By the way, also him and Spinks' relationship, they are like great friends. Do you think it would be good to swap Dupree for Flames? Personally, think it was a great transfer. This is one of the best moves ever. It's tough when you like. So, for example, I like Dupree. He is a player I know well. I've spoken to so many times. I think I have so many like great things to say about Dupree. But if you're talking about business and you're talking about winning trophies and your Vitality, you go, this makes sense. Because Dupree eventually would be able to give less, or he's had a kid as well, right? I'm a dad. You have other options in term and how things go. It's maybe not right, but it's true. You got to look at it. And bringing a young player in who's going to be keen on learning CS2 and maybe adapt faster, learn faster, mate, this is sick. So yeah, Vitality, they're definitely number 1 team in the world right now. Apex did an interview. That was a sick tournament for them. And they did it with all the pressure of single elimination. They handled that hour tech pause at the end as well. And I really feel like they're like, out of the server, I feel like they're all good friends. Like Magisk is bantering with Zyra all the time. Apex is just funny. I think Apex is everyone's friend, you know? And now you've got Spinks and Flames together. It's great. And I'll give you a funny story from this. So this is no world of a lie. And this is a positive, right? Saudi Arabia and Israel don't have the greatest of relations, so they needed security with them the whole way. And you saw the tweets from Spinks and Flames. I said to Spinks and Flames, I was like, let me come on an Uber journey with you, because this security is from everywhere. I'm doing an interview with them, the security guard's like looking over. And the thing is, it's just to make sure nothing bad does happen to them. So you guys might think, oh, that sounds terrible. Why should they need that? Bro, there was an event in Brazil where Hiko had security, you know, because of tweets or something he'd made. So sometimes there are necessary things for why we need security. But either way, this was hilarious because Spinks, Nerds, and Flames were sticking together. They had security with them all the time, outside the practice rooms, outside their rooms. And this is just because if anything did happen, obviously it would sour political relations. So the fact that 2 Israeli players won the event is probably very good for this political side. I don't pretend to know anything about this politics and stuff, but that was just a funny story afterwards. Like, Flames comes up to me and he's like, dude, I'm going down to like McDonald's just to get some food. And we just tell the security guard he has to come with us. Oh, they was, mate. Politics is everywhere in the world, but at least like that was a funny tidbit off the back of it. Okay, EPL. The only thing I've got to talk about through this, right, is my God, it was easy for Vitality. Vitality dominated. Vitality still looks so good. Astralis, though, I'm happy. Astralis made it to playoffs. Astralis, I don't think they're a team that's going to win the event, but we're still seeing positives. And I think because we've spoken so badly about Astralis for so long, that this is a good sign. So Astralis, they lost to the Ninjas first of all, which I actually thought was disappointing. I thought they would beat the Ninjas, yeah. And then from here on out, they 2-0'd Orcs. That's a pretty easy game, to be fair. They 2-0'd Game Legion. That should be easy. And they 2-0'd Furia. I would have loved to see them replay Ninjas, but Furia beat the Ninjas, which kind of says more about the Ninjas than anything. Okay, so in terms of EPL, Furia is still in. They got the last spot. So yeah, my thing is, Buzz is still pretty clutch in there. Borop, people need to give Borop some credit for Astralis. He doing a lot for that team. He is the enabler. He is setting them up. He's a positive guy as well. He'll do anything they need. BlameF still fragging despite in-game leading. So no one can talk shit on that. Nip, by the way. Nip, I'm still, like, they're a big WTF team for me. Like, what is going on inside Nip? Hampers is back in game leading, and I love Hampers. I think Hampers is great. But it's like, I feel like with the team they have now, you need to go back to full Swedish. But then you spent money and lost money, and Headtrick's good. Config's pretty good as well at times, but they're so up and down. Something's not right. Are they waiting for CS2 already? Thing is, I can't just use that excuse for teams that perform badly because we know them to say, are they just waiting for CS2? Like, that doesn't work. It's such a wild situation to look at with Nip. It's been so long of a struggle, so long of just a grind and a wait for it all.